what do you mean swallowing? Because it's not included in our name. And it's actually not something we get a ton of recognition for. And still working on it, but learning to separate like everyone else's point of view at work and like their like gung-ho-ness about like how into it they are.
Hi friends, welcome to the Solely Human podcast. My name is Jasmine Naomi and I'm your host. I am a social worker here in Southern California. I'm currently doing therapy with my foster kids at a group home. I love it. They're amazing. But here I have a podcast where we talk about our human experiences and we grow and learn and we connect with each other. And then we also talk about the fact that we are also soul, and our soul is what connects us to ourselves, to the people around us, and to the universe around us. So I'm really excited. I have a very special person here with me today. I have my friend Esther.
Hi, hello.
Esther, Solely Human, Esther.
Yes, big fan.
Yes, she's been a long-time supporter. I'm talking since the beginning. When one of my episodes is late, she's like, so is it, are you releasing this weekend? Right, where is it? So I'm very happy you're here. I love you. I love that you're here. We're going to be talking about some cool stuff today. So before we get started, without telling us what you do for work.
Okay. Oh.
Tell us who you are.
Wow. Wow, that's a loaded question. I wasn't prepared for already.
No worries.
We're so used to defining ourselves by our jobs.
I know. That's true. When you meet yourself, when you introduce yourself, people are like, so what do you do?
Yeah, okay.
Take your
my
time,
name is Esther, born and raised in the Riv. I've known Jasmine for a really long time. I've known you since first grade, but we've been friends probably since like third.
Yeah, I would say that.
I'm a daughter. I'm a sister. I'm a friend. I like reading. That might sound boring, but I find it fun to like go into the little world of the book. I enjoy music.
I was just talking with my friend yesterday how when you read, you can see it and you literally get transported into another world.
Yeah. Recently, I was listening to an audiobook of one of the books I was reading. I was like, whoa, this is not the way I named the people in my head. This is not the voices I had for them in my head. So it threw me off. But anyways.
That's funny.
I enjoy music and I enjoy other activities. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Yes. Esther is definitely a longtime friend. How old are we? Like 26. So
I've known you at least since we were like
15 years.
Yeah.
10 years.
No, more than that, Jasmine.
15
10 years would be
15 years.
16.
I know. I don't
do math.
I met you at 6, so 20 years.
Yeah. It's been a while. Let's just say that.
Yes. We went to the same school together and just did a bunch of stuff together. So now it has been so cool because there's only a few of us.
Yeah.
I mean, friend-wise, I would say maybe like, I don't know, 3 or 4 of you that are still in my life, that the people that we grew up with. And so I think growing through our many, many different phases together has been wild. You know, not everyone can say they have that experience with friends that they have in their life. And that's so dope. That is so cool. We definitely have pictures if you were to look back. You know, the cringe. You glow up, you grow up, and those are priceless.
Yeah.
That's gold. So, now, in telling us about you and what you do, what is it that you do for work?
I am a licensed speech pathologist. I work at a skilled nursing facility, so with older patients. I typically work with patients who have a swallowing disorder called dysphagia. That's the majority of what I get in my patients, but I can also have patients who have cognitive disabilities or language disabilities like aphasia or dementia or TBIs and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm working with the older population now in the medical setting because I didn't have that experience in school and I really wanted to challenge myself with that. I do miss the kids. There's something about the kids that just are very youthful and they say the funniest things. So I do miss that. Maybe I'll go back to it in the future. But right now I'm enjoying the skilled nursing facility setting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just sound so cool when you said all that. I'm like, damn, that's crazy. You said that most of the time that they have trouble like swallowing, and that's what you're working with them on. So for those of us that don't know a lot about speech path or what it is, how does one even really teach that?
Yeah, so a lot of times people are like, wait, you're a speech language pathologist. What do you mean swallowing? Because it's not included in our name. And it's actually not something we get a ton of recognition for until you're kind of in this population with the older generation. A lot of times people that have strokes or CVAs, it affects a part of their brain and it affects their muscles, causing weakness in their muscles. And like you don't think about it because it's something you do involuntarily, swallowing, but it weakens the muscles. And basically, depending on the severity of the stroke, you have to retrain those muscles to help you eat. So a lot of times when my patients come in, sometimes they're on a feeding tube and I have to retrain them from zero, or they're on like a special diet texture so that, you know, there's safety and they're not aspirating and choking on their food basically. The way that we do that, there's there's different, there's like exercises. So just like you would exercise for your muscles, there's exercises you do for your swallowing muscles that help strengthen them, your pharyngeal and laryngeal and oral muscles, that like strengthen that again, which helps you control the bolus or the food that's in your mouth. Also, I just recently got trained in something called e-stimulation for head and neck, and that's basically just electrical stimulation pads that we put on your face and neck, and that like shocks the nerves and the muscles, and it's trying to stimulate them to the brain to like kind of like, hey, wake up, like we got to work again. So doing that in partnership with the exercises, in partnership with the feeding trials of like seeing what my patient can tolerate and teaching the patient or their family or the staff like compensatory strategies of like how they can eat more safely while they're, you know, recuperating. There's a
interesting.
So
there's a lot of ways to do it.
Yeah,
it probably depends on like case by case.
The severity, case by case. Obviously, cognitive level. A lot of time, patients with severe dementia, like they need a lot of help, and sometimes for their safety, we don't upgrade them diet texture, just for their safety. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now you've been actually practicing as a speech pathologist for how long?
I'll be there for a year in January.
Okay.
I've been graduated for a year and a half now. Took a while to get my license, but just because the board is super delayed.
So for social workers, it's the same way.
Yeah. So I've been working there for about 10 months now. And then I had like clinical experience, obviously, in school, but.
Because you did how many years of school straight?
K through 12 plus La Sierra, which was 1 year then Spain, then another year. And then 2 years of undergrad at Loma Linda, 2 years of grad school at Loma Linda.
Six-ish? 7?
7.
Okay.
Yeah, 7.
Finally being able to...
Math is not our thing.
Finally being able to work post.
Yeah.
Is it what you thought it would be?
Yes and no. I had several months off while I was waiting for my license to be cleared by the board. And at times I was like, oh, so antsy. Like, I really want to get to work and start making money, obviously. But I kept trying to remind myself, like, enjoy this time. You're never going to get like several months down to do literally nothing. Is it what I thought it would be? In what sense? Like the work itself?
Let me say working as an adult and entering that adult phase.
Yeah. I enjoy having a schedule and like a routine. So I think we both agree on that.
Yes.
So it was nice to be back into something like that. I do miss like being able to do whatever I want during the day and like, I'm going to watch a movie at 2 p.m. and, you know, whatever. I think my dad's in the healthcare field, and like growing up, he's always talked about politics and like everyone's different at work. And so like I knew that that was an aspect that was gonna, but like I think becoming an adult and working in it yourself, you're like, damn, like there really is a lot of like messed up stuff and like burnout and all that kind of stuff. I think it was a little shocking at first because I came in, you know, you're young, you come out of grad school, you're like, man, like I just want to help people and like everyone wants to help people. And then I'm there and I'm like, oh, like there's things that can be improved on. Obviously, like I'm not perfect. I have things to work on myself, but I think it was a little disheartening at first to be like, oh, okay, not everyone is like going to be on that level all the time. And I'm sure as years go by too, like you kind of get over what you're doing. But I do like it though. I'm glad that I chose to do medical starting out. I think it was challenging. So I'm glad that I got to like dabble in it. And yeah, I mean, no complaints. I have a pretty good rehab team.
Nice.
Which makes a big difference.
So in figuring out that maybe not everyone is like, let's change the world.
Yeah.
And not everyone is like super genuine with their intentions and their heart.
Yeah.
In the process of like working and figuring out this routine of adulting, of working
9 to 5.
how have you kind of like, how do I ask this question? In finding you or like this version of you right now, like in navigating that, where are you with that? And the reason I asked this question is because at least when I started working as a social worker, coming out of school, it was very similar. It was, and even now to this day, it's the same thing. You come in expecting one thing, and then you're maybe those expectations are met in some places, but then in other places you're like completely let down and kind of like shattered. Like this is actually the real world, and you live in a fantasy land or a fairyland and thinking certain things. And sometimes that's not the case, but sometimes it is. So that kind of changed, I feel like, some things internally for me. Yeah. So I don't know if you had or are having any experience like that.
It has. I will say, like, coming up on my 1 year, I'm a little like, oh, okay, this isn't like fully what I expected. And it's a little disheartening, but I'm still working on it, but learning to separate like everyone else's point of view at work and like their like gung-ho-ness about like how into it they are. I'm trying to separate it and, you know, be there for my patients, be there for their family, reminding them that they can advocate for their parent and like, obviously with kindness and to an extent. You don't want to be a mean person because then you'll get that energy back. But like, I always say, if I were in your shoes, if it was my mom, my grandma, whatever, I would advocate as hard as I could for them as well. So like, don't feel bad for advocating for your parent. I also like, I have a couple patients who have no friends, no family, no kids. They're literally there by themselves. So I have a little old lady that's my friend. She's really funny, but I make it a point to go in there and like, even if she isn't like fully on my caseload all the time, like I'll try to take 20 minutes sometimes, just go in there and hang out with her. Cause like quality of life and like connecting with someone, like, and she's so funny, and she does have early onset like dementia and stuff, but she remembers like things we talk about. And I don't know, it's just been like sweet to see us connect. I had someone cover me while I was on vacation once, and they went to go see her, and they were like, hey, like I'm here covering for Esther, and she was like, where is she? And they were like, oh, she's on vacation. And she was like, but Esther doesn't work here. Esther is my friend. We hang out. And I was like, that's really sweet, because like I technically was working with her on cognitive stuff, but to her, like we're just hanging out and like having a good time. So that's sweet. But I guess it's just like separating that, and like even when I'm feeding patients who like can't talk or are on a G-tube and we're working on things, like I have a recent one that came in and he's nonverbal, but like I sat there and I'm feeding him and I'm playing music on the TV for him, and like I had piano music playing for him and I could tell he was getting emotional, and so I just like held his hand, and like I don't know, I just feel like those things kind of remind me that I'm there for the patient, and like it's not always going to feel like that every day, but I try to remember like, you know, these people are recovering and I'm trying to do what I can for them. and advocate for them in the way that I can right now.
So it sounds like having the connections with them kind of fuels your heart.
Yeah.
And helps you maintain that peace or like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some sanity, right. Amidst whatever else is going on.
Yeah.
Okay. When you're not working, what is it that brings you peace? How do you connect with yourself?
Yeah. I will be honest. I feel like I have struggled with that lately in the last couple months. And I've just wanted to go home and lay down and sleep really early or watch TV and numb my brain, which I know isn't good. But I do really enjoy reading. I enjoy reading not just like novels and stuff, but I enjoy reading memoirs. I like to read about other people's life experiences and see like what their struggles were and how they came through it. I enjoy taking long girl walks, hot girl walks, as they call them.
Yes, hot girl walks. We love hot girl walks.
Yeah, with Layla, my sister's dog. I live with my sister. I do spend a lot of time with my family. And even though sometimes it can be stressful, it is nice to have family that you can, go home to. And spending time with my friends.
Yes. We have a walking club.
Yes.
Invite only. There's 3 of us.
Reach out if you're interested.
Reach out if you're in DM if you're interested.
Yeah. We walk on Mondays. Not
Monday
very long.
mornings.
I feel like we need to extend our time because we do 2 rounds and then we're done.
What we do, we would, but you got to work.
I know.
That's why we don't. And I'm not about to do earlier because I
you
can't.
work late on Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday nights I work late and we walk Monday mornings, but that's also what jump starts my day.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'll kick it until 10 or 11.
Yeah.
Can't be doing that. So
It started because we went to Disneyland a few times over the summer, and after our set times were up, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to feel so sad not having a future plan with you guys. So we started Monday walks, and we've kind of made it a point to schedule at least one hangout together at least once a month.
that reminds me about your text. I will respond.
It's okay.
I was so focused on getting to today.
Yeah. I think it's just nice having these 2 girlfriends that I've had for years, and we still intentionally put in the time. I totally understand when Jasmine or my other friend Angelica have life is happening and we're busy and we get to each other when we can, but having that intentional planned time is really nice. We get to catch up and make new memories. I think sometimes when you have a friend for so long, you kind of forget to make those plans and make new memories. And it's just nice to have new experiences shared with each other. So anyways.
It is. It really is. And you guys are part of my team for sure. We have those people in our lives that we know if we see them weekly or if we see them monthly, or even if it's we hear from them and don't see them, that you can really count on. You guys are on my team. And so I'm so thankful to have those people. Those people are so important. Even if you're going through it, you might not always, for myself at least, when I'm going through it, I'll think of the people that I could reach out to. I'm nah, I'll just do this by myself. But I'll come, that's just me. And then I'll come back with, hey, this is happening. But even just knowing and thinking about these people love me and care about me and are there if I do reach out, that is really special and it's a blessing. So I'll say that I've had a lot of friends. I've had a lot of friends in my lifetime. I've had a lot of friends in my lifetime.
You're so old. Just turned 26.
Just turned 26. I'm surprised at the friends that are still in my life.
Yeah.
People say friendships come and go sometimes, but
I've been blue.
But at least for us, because we grew up in the same place with all of the same people, and that in itself is such a blessing because it's a community and you are with the same people as you grow up. Honestly, it was hard for me to comprehend that. What do you mean people come and go,
Yeah.
Because you're in the same place all the time.
For context, we went to a private school, K through 12.
Yeah, it was
Went to the sister college down the road. So, a lot of our class we grew up with.
Yeah.
And those were our friends.
Yeah.
So, me too. The concept of going to a public school and, only knowing one person in, a 500-person classroom or, moving all the time and having a million new settings to make friends, that was, unheard of.
Right. It was like weird to us. Like we didn't think that. And then when I went to some community college classes, I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's a whole different culture. And I think both have such cool things about them.
Yeah, for sure.
But we didn't, that was like not
wasn't our
normal. So that wasn't our experience.
Yeah.
We had the same people around us at all times. So when you get into college and even having opportunity to make new friends here and being around people that you don't know, but that, you know, it was different and it was cool. And you make new friends and then you look at now who's in your life and who isn't. And you're like, damn, I was not expecting that.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because, like, I roomed with Angelica and you were upstairs, so I could come to your room in college. Even though we had started to make our own friend groups and, like, meet new people and hang out with other people, like, I feel like we would still come back together and check on each other, which was really sweet. And, yeah, like, I had a lot of new friends, and that was... It was like another world opened up, like, whoa, like I can actually make new friends. Like, and it was nice. And those friendships were meaningful while I had them. You know, people grow out of things and life goes on and takes you different places. And some of those I'm sad that they're not friends anymore, but like it is what it is. But yeah, it's really like when I think of you and Angelica, I get emotional because it's like you guys aren't just my friends. You guys are family.
Yeah.
And it's just really special. Yeah, like Jasmine and I have seen each other grow up in so many phases. So it's really cool.
Yes, it is. I think that there are definitely a few people that I wish were still in my life that aren't.
Yeah.
And I don't always understand why they're not. But I think that's one of those things where it's like trusting the process, trusting that everything happens for a reason. And, you know, people... all types of relationships, you know, come and go sometimes.
Yeah.
So to have grown out of or away from some friendships has been a learning experience because we had the same people around us. Like I really felt a loss, you know, and I was like, damn.
It almost feels a little bit like a failure, at least speaking for myself.
Yeah.
It almost feels a little like a failure because we've had these long-standing relationships and... you know, I've made my mistakes and have had my issues and stuff, but I don't know. I think you don't realize or you don't expect, like, at that age, you don't expect to, like, lose someone that you're, like, so buddy-buddy with, you know? And I think that's part of growing up was realizing, yeah, like, friendships ebb and flow and things happen and you grow apart from someone. But, yeah, it was, like, very hurtful for a while.
And I think because of having these people in our life that we have long relationships with, that's the part where it's kind of like, why didn't this end up like that? Like, what did I do? What could have been done? You know? And I think a large part of, at least for myself in the past 1 to 2 years of like growing and healing has been a lot of like letting go.
Yeah.
I think that before I really thought letting go was a failure or letting go was...
not trying
like
hard enough.
Flaky. Yeah. Like something was wrong with me for letting go, you know? And so a large part of like the unconditioning of that thought process is like letting go is normal.
Yeah.
And whenever I talk to people about relationships, everyone's so quick to understand and get the concept that, hey, friends come and go, you know? And because it was a newer thing for us, you know, once we got into college and stuff, I was like, oh, yeah, like this is normal. And now it's kind of like, it's okay to let go. It's healthy to let go sometimes. And it doesn't speak to me, you know, it kind of just speaks to like a process.
Of life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think what you said about like letting go, having to learn to let go. And like for me, like when things went south in some friendships, like I felt on my part that I was trying to make something work. And in my head, I thought, like, if I keep trying, if I push a little harder, if I stick around, like, it'll show that I'm a really good friend and that I still care and, like, I really want to make this work. And when you're not getting that reciprocated, maybe in the way that you thought you would, It's very disheartening. For me, I was like, what? Like, I'm here. Like, I don't get it. Like, why? I'm trying. I've said the things that I needed to say. Like, it just feels like, again, like kind of like a failure. So yeah, like that unlearning of like, just stick around, always say yes kind of thing. And that, sometimes even if you try, if you're not getting it in return, like you do have to let it go. Like you cannot chase someone and chase someone and chase someone and expect them to like, I don't know, expect the outcome that you want just because you're just there. Like sometimes people show you that they really just don't want you in their life anymore. And okay, that's fine. But it was very hard concept for me to grasp and let go of. And honestly, sometimes I still have moments where I'm like, oh, maybe I should like reach out to them again. But I have to like talk myself through like, I've said my piece, I've done my part, and the ball has been left in the middle. And someone has shown me that they don't want me around anymore, and I have to accept that, and I have to respect their boundaries for that,
And everything you just described, I have responded that way in partnerships.
Yeah, me too.
Cheers.
By the way, can we talk about these cups?
Aren't they amazing? I'm going to tag my friend below. She's an artist and
super cute.
Yeah.
I want one for Christmas, just letting you know.
Got you. Noted. Yeah, she's amazing. She's amazing. I'm going to tag her below.
Yeah. Merch in the future.
Right. Yeah. Every time I look at them, I'm like tripped out.
Yeah.
It's so cool to see other people put their heart into something. And so yeah, I have responded that way in relationships. And I'm laughing because I went hard.
Yeah. We both have.
We both have. And this is another thing of having a friend for this long. You see the growth, you see the healing, because I think we've both been in phases like with a partner where it's like, all right, we're getting these signals.
But I'm not seeing them.
That's okay. That's okay.
But I'm not going to
Let me push harder. Let me try harder.
I do a little more.
If I do a little more and then maybe a lot more,
Go somewhere that I probably shouldn't go.
Right. Maybe if And so I have done that. And I think that for myself, at least, the times that I've done that, it has come out of a deep rooted attachment for a person. Also a deep love for the person, because they're two different things. So it's come from a deep love, a deep attachment, and then I think a lack of love and a lack of respect for self.
Yeah.
For me.
Oh, yeah. No, for me too. I feel everything you just said. I'm like, yeah.
But at that time, I never really thought about it that way. You kind of just think that, I don't know, at the time it felt normal and even like a positive thing, again, that I was pushing that I was
putting
committed.
In the work.
Yeah, putting in the work, and I'm committed to this process. But then when it's kind of like, when another person, partner, friend, family member, when someone is actively telling you showing you who they are, what it is they need and want from you, listen.
Yeah.
Listen. What is the quote where it's, I think she literally says, when someone shows you who they are, believe them.
Yeah.
And I didn't. I think that the lack of like love and respect for self just came from, it came from a lot of places, but I won't go that deep into it. Episode. It was a self-worth thing.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I didn't think myself like worthy enough at the time. And so I felt the need to like prove my worth and earn my worth, or like prove my place to be in this person's life. And it's taken like a couple years to really understand that it's actually truly a blessing if I show you who I am and you don't want me, that's okay. Yeah. Right? This is like God's redirection.
Yeah. I will piggyback off of what you said of like, those actions for me came from a really sad place the time that I was like pushing and thinking, oh, I'm putting in the work, or I'm just, I'm showing them that I'm here and I'm in it for real. I was like the most depressed I've ever been in my life. And I think that was the first time I was ever really,
Same.
really depressed.
Same.
So during COVID, doesn't help. I was very isolated. And it was a really, really dark time. And yeah, lack of self-worth. And the way that I was talking to myself in my head was just like not nice. It's not something that I would ever say to you or my sisters. Like if I would never talk to someone like that, it was like, I look back and it makes me sad because I'm like, the way that I talked to myself then was just like so sad. So definitely it came from like, yeah, like a dark place and like not knowing my own self-worth and like not knowing like, okay, you did what you could, like take a step back now. They clearly don't want you. And looking back, I did some things and like that, like I wish I hadn't, like in the trying harder, I'm like, man, like I really wish I hadn't gone that far. Like I look back now, I'm like, man, like I really lowered myself to that.
I gave up all dignity of myself.
Me too.
I get like grossed out when I think about it.
It's sad and like it's sad, but we're blessed to have grown through it and like have had each other. Jasmine really was one of my main supports during that time, and I was very blessed to have you there. And when a time where I felt like I wasn't worthy of having friends or having connections, you showed me that like it's okay, people make mistakes, like you're still a good person at heart, and like we're gonna work through this. So that was a blessing, and someone to be there and tell you you're not like scum of the earth.
Because our brain will say a lot of crazy shit.
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely blessed to have grown through that. When I look back, I'm definitely sad of like the lengths that I went, because me now, I would not go that far for someone.
Same.
Ever.
But I had to go through that.
Exactly. To be here
to
now.
get here, to learn the boundaries, to learn my worth, and to see the value of who I am, like always.
And to just learn, I think for me, the biggest thing was to learn, like, no matter how much you do or how much you think you're doing, like you said, some people will show you what they want and you need to walk away. And that was probably the hardest thing for me to grasp.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know where that comes from. So
I don't know. I mean, a lot of places. Well, I think pushing to be in someone's life when they show you that they don't want you there, I really think it's like rooted in worth, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like our worth is dependent on other people and their acceptance of us. So then it's like, if you don't think I'm worthy, then I must not be. And that was my thinking at the time.
Yeah. And Jasmine and I have had a pretty good upbringing. Like, I wouldn't say we were like,
no, we
were not destitute. We like had stable
like,
homes.
Everything that we needed.
But that doesn't mean
more.
that things don't happen that like make you do or grow into certain things. I think part of the way that we grew up in our community, in our religious community, is like doing things for people, being there for people, and like saying yes, like, yes, I'll help you, yes, I'll do this, yes, I'll do this. And like it almost is like the more that you do, like the more like, oh, she's so nice. Oh, she's so good. Or, oh,
it's praised.
Yeah.
The more you say yes, the more you give, the more you do, you are praised.
So I think maybe partially it was like, oh, the more that I do, maybe they'll recognize what I'm doing.
Yes.
That and like, I don't know if you want to go into that, our family.
Well, yes, I think we can definitely touch on it a little bit.
Yeah.
I was going to add to that and say, growing up in a Christian home, in a Christian community.
With immigrant parents. Hispanic
and Middle Eastern for me. The faith really just, at least from what I saw, it is such a giving and doing community. And that is a beautiful thing.
I was just going to say, it's beautiful in its own way.
Until it becomes
who you are.
Like you are programmed and expected to give and give and give and give.
Until you burn out.
Right. And then when you don't do that, it's like,
well, what's wrong with that?
yeah.
Yeah.
That may not have been everyone. And this is not like an outward experience thing. It's more of like a conditioned way of thinking. You watch your parents, you watch your church, you watch your community. And again, it's truly beautiful until it's like when there isn't discussion of saying no, when there isn't like normalizing of boundaries of who you are and your time. And when you're reminded that saying yes to everything is not what makes you amazing and unconditionally loved. You are amazing and unconditionally loved no matter what.
Yeah.
That's when like those seeds get planted and you start, forming these habits like this.
Yeah.
Yes. You can, whatever you're thinking, go for it.
I guess like I said, we grew up in pretty good homes. Like our parents were very supporting of our education and put us in extracurricular activities like piano, which we used to do duets together. And like, I would say I grew up in a loving home. There were times. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, if it helps, the relationships we have with our parents heavily mold everything.
Yeah.
Your attachment style, your communication style, your personality, how you...
I grew up being told that I was loved no matter what, which I did feel to an extent, but it felt very much like if I ever made a mistake, I was terrified of making a mistake and what would happen after that. I didn't feel... I remember one time in high school, I had something happen. And at the dinner table, it was brought up, like, what's wrong with you? Like, why are you sad? And I started crying because I was just, like, overwhelmed. I started crying. And for me, anyways, so I started crying. And it wasn't met with, what's wrong? Like, let's talk about it. It was met with, why are you crying? Suck it up kind of thing. I went upstairs and things escalated to, like, it was just not understood. Like, the emotional, how, like, the...
normalizing and accepting the emotions.
Normalizing emotions and like that. So I never felt like I could be fully vulnerable of like why I was sad or like what was happening in relationships, because I felt like it wasn't going to be met with like, oh, okay, let's talk about it, or I'm sorry you feel that way. Like it wasn't met with that kind of. And granted, our parents, I try to sympathize a lot because our parents went through a lot growing up and didn't necessarily have parent figures, or they went through a lot of trauma on their own coming from a different country and oppression and stuff, being very poor. And so really they didn't have, I guess you could say, the luxury of being like, oh, I'm sad right now, I'm going to go see a therapist, which that was like not a thing back then.
Right now it's not a thing.
It was like fight or flight, but always fight for them of like, well, I just gotta push because I gotta make a life for myself. So I do sympathize with them in that they like never really got the chance to explore their emotions and feel like, oh, like this is why I feel like this, or this is why I act like this. I'm not saying it's an excuse to continue to act certain ways, or, so I do love my parents very much. Let me say that, because they've given me a lot that I could have never done on my own. But I don't think it's an excuse to let certain behaviors go without being addressed or worked on. That's also a very difficult conversation in a cultural home. A lot of cultures don't, especially men, are opposed to seeking that kind of help. It's not there's like a stigma around it still. So yeah, I'll say that for me. And then just like, whenever there was an argument in my home from one side of the parent, it was met with silent treatment. Not something that we talked about. There was never a sorry, like, I'm sorry. It was like 2 weeks later, oh, like, hi, how are you again? And for me, that was just like, that really affected me a lot. Because for me, it was like, how can you go like 2 weeks ignoring me, and like I would come down and say hi to you or try to initiate, and you would just give me silent cold, and then out of nowhere we're okay again, and that would happen constantly. So I think for me, when growing up, like in adulthood, I guess, when someone was giving me silent treatment or taking a step back, I was like, oh no, like what can I do to like not feel like I'm a problem, or like, you know. So I think that's part of the reason why it was like so difficult for me when losing those friends. I was like, oh no, like they're being quiet, or we're taking a step back, like things are not good.
Yeah, well, that creates like the anxious attachment, right? So it's like you feel someone pulling away, and it causes this anxiety, and it makes you want to like pour in more to avoid that. That's exactly what we want to avoid. Same.
Copy paste.
Copy paste. Well, for me, it was like people, again, the immigrant mentality. They worked hard, went ham.
Which is super admirable.
No, it's amazing. Because of them, we're here.
Yeah,
right?
literally.
Like without them, without that, we wouldn't be in this position. And so I understand 1,000% where it came from. Again, it gives an understanding. It gives the context. And so as an adult learning, and Rashan and I talked about it a little bit, my little sister, as an adult learning about your parents and seeing them for the human beings that they are, you know, I do feel gratitude and love, but I'm also understanding of the fact that my relationship with my parents has trickled heavily into and really created and paved a way for my
certain things,
relationships, and how I respond to things. And once you become aware of them, then you can kind of change the narrative, right? And so then the hope is that in the future we pass down something different. But I think that mistakes being addressed with silence or with just like a lot of negative reaction, and then a lot of emphasis being placed on that, like a mistake or a lack of something, and then all this energy goes into like it starts to make you feel like I could do anything. It doesn't matter what I do on this end. One mess up and suddenly
I'm gonna get this reaction every time.
Yeah. And so it you see it later. You see it as an adult.
Yeah. And that was something that when I started going to therapy, I definitely unpacked with my therapist, and it was heavy because, like I said, like I didn't feel like I came from a bad upbringing, but it was like, wow, like these things that like were big to me really did impact how I've dealt with things and how I've learned to not fight, but like resolve issues in relationships. So I'm not perfect, but I think I've done some good work on that, and learning when to walk away, learning to recognize things and wave a little flag of like, okay, that's not something that I want for myself. And sometimes I call Jasmine because I'm like, am I crazy? Or is this actually valid?
Like, no. And let me tell you, it's always valid. Like everything.
Which is nice to hear.
Yeah. And that's not even like, it's not even to say I'm going to co-sign on things that aren't like a good friend.
Yeah. And I've asked her, like, you're not just saying this because you're my friend, right? Like, please be honest.
Absolutely not. I think when you have a good friends, they will hold you accountable. Yeah. They'll challenge you. They'll hold you accountable. And they will validate you, and they will empathize, and they will tell you for what it is, you know? Because the last thing, I don't know. I don't think a real friend kind of just hypes you up for everything all the time. I think that's fake.
Which is also something that you learn growing up in friendships.
True, right. I think it's just a fake. I think it's a fake thing. Yeah. People like confuse, what is that?
Loyalty with no end to no end.
Yeah.
As it's like enabling. But and I'm guilty of this in the past where I was
Same.
like, no matter what you do,
Yeah.
I'm gonna take your back and be with you. And like, sure, loyalty to an extent, but like
Boundaries.
boundaries, and like call each other out on like, which thankfully between you and a couple other of my friends, like in the past 2-3 years, I've had people call me out and I was like, whoa, like as uncomfortable as it feels, I'm also like, damn, like you're a good friend, because I haven't had this in a long time. And it just shows me that like you care about me being a better person, because you're
Growing,
not just
yeah.
there to be like, yeah, no matter what you do, I support you.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you did this, but like, why did you do that? And like, hey, like that was kind of fucked up. Sorry, I don't know if I can cuss on here.
Yeah, you can.
Okay. So yeah, that's one thing.
Yeah. And I think, and I've had like relationships where when I don't show, there's a word for this, when I don't show loyalty to the ends of the earth, they're like, you don't love me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, actually, I love you and I love myself. This is not, because then there's no growth, right? Because then you're going to continue in this same like cycle of whatever it is for yourself.
Yeah.
And then because of it, you're going to suffer.
Yeah.
So I don't want you in that position. So I'm going to call you out on the things that I see and I feel because, you know, so where was I before that?
I don't know.
Damn.
I was talking about therapy and how I feel like I've worked on things, and we were talking about our parents.
Yeah, but there was something that led us to talk about like calling, you know, having friends that call you out. Oh, you said that you've asked me, am I valid?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yes. Because those like preconditioned thoughts, you know, sometimes they'll still kick in. And I think our inner guidance always knows, right? That's why we have that initial response. And then it's like the mind starts to say things and you're like, wait.
Yeah.
But that's when having real people around
Yeah.
you helps. There was something before that. I was going to say, focus. Don't look at me.
Okay.
It's stressing me out.
I'm closing my eyes. I'm drinking my matcha.
Damn.
Would you like help?
Do you remember?
No, but I'll tell you what we were talking about.
Well, I kind of remember we were talking about, but
Was it about parents, about therapy, about me calling you and asking you, is this valid? About
something. It was something when, like, about right before the phone call.
that I felt like I've done work and that I notice things now, but I'll still have to call you sometimes and be like, hey, like, is what I'm seeing true? Am I crazy or am I actually?
Yeah. I don't know. It's gone.
All right.
It's gone
Maybe
forever.
it'll come back.
Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. But if it does, we'll come back. But yes, I have also done similar stuff in therapy and it has helped a lot. I think that I've had the similar response in relationships. I've had the anxious attachment. I've also had the anxious avoidant attachment. It's been a wild ride with that.
Yeah.
Damn, it's really bothering me. Well, was there anything you wanted to add while we're here? Thoughts, reflections?
I don't know. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on?
We have seen friendships come and go. We've seen partnerships come and go. We have come from a place of truly wanting to give up everything important to us or who we are for other people, thinking that that is love. Mm-hmm. And then we've grown out of that and we've grown into what love feels like for ourselves. Mm-hmm. And therefore that feeling, that peace is what it should feel like with someone else. I think that I also look at my parents and I look at their marriage and I think that there are things I admire about it, their partnership, and then there are things that I can tell are rooted in their own experiences. Yeah. And I think that that's...
Ditto.
Yeah. And I think that's just, that's just human.
Yeah.
That's just being a human. And I think as I watch them and as I learn for myself, the way I feel with you and Ange, like the safety and the peace and the empathy and the accountability, that is what I hope for in all my relationships, friendships, partners.
Funny you say that, because when you asked me what we were going to talk about today, I was like, I just think it's so beautiful that we've had this long lasting friendship. And I think about it often, even before you brought, we were going to talk on here, of how can I replicate this in a romantic partnership?
Yeah.
Because I feel like we have so much grace for each other. We encourage each other to do better. We are each other's cheerleaders. And I think that's so beautiful. And that's like you said, that's kind of what I hope for in a partnership. I also know that people talk about a lot that you shouldn't rely on your partner to meet all of those things.
Yeah.
Which is a new concept for me, because that's never been a conversation that until recently that I've heard or looked into. But that makes a lot of sense. One person can't be your book buddy, can't be your your everything. It is nice to get a lot of the aspects in one, but I think that's maybe an issue where we have these huge expectations for one person, where it's well, if he doesn't or she doesn't like to do this, but my best friend does, I can get that fulfilled there. So that's something that I've been thinking about as well. But yeah, just having these beautiful relationships with you and Anne, it's man, what can I do to just on a guy?
Right. And I think that in itself is a whole other episode. So I'm going to have you come on again so that we can talk about that, because I have come from that too, where you make one person everything, and that's not fair to them or to you, nor is it realistic.
Yeah.
So I'm truly thankful for our friendship.
Me too.
I love you so much.
Love you too.
Thank you for coming.
Of course, anytime.
And hanging out. Yeah, you'll be back. She'll be back soon, guys. Don't worry about it. She'll be back. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for listening to The Solely Human.
Like and subscribe.
That's what I keep forgetting to say.
Well,
I'm how are all these people viewing? And then there's not that many subscribers.
Subscribe.
Guys, I need you to like and subscribe the video.
Comment with any topics.
I'm new. Thank you. You're great at this.
Too many podcasts.
That's what it is. You are so good at this. I forget to say those things. Like and subscribe, please. I'm not used to YouTube like this. Your girl is learning. So like and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for your time and your energy and your intention in hanging out and watching this and listening to this. My hope is that as you go into the week, the weekend, the day, that you are kind to yourself and empathetic with yourself the same way you would be someone that you love, your friend, your partner, your mom, your dad, your sibling, because we find it easy to love others and, sometimes don't talk to ourselves that way. So please practice empathy. Thank you guys again for your time. Thank you again, Esther, for your time. Before we dip, please tell us what fuels your soul.
What fuels my soul? I have made it a point in the last 2 years to really, I guess you could say, date myself, but take myself out. When I notice that I'm having a bad day, I'll get a book and I'll go to Lake Arrowhead. I'll get a book, I'll go to a restaurant. I connect with my friends. I will sleep if I need to sleep. I will go see my family, which sometimes it can be stressful, but I'm very grateful to still have parents and still have grandparents around. So I think it's very important to take time for yourself, do the things you love, get some vitamin D out there, a little sweet treat. Those are the things that I enjoy. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, friend.
Love you. Feel your soul this week, guys, and we'll talk to you later.